Okay, I'm just sighting through from the center line of the hood to the windshield to the rear window. All that looks good. I noticed the peak of the roof. I only put one tack and it kind of leaned over. So the weld actually pulled that rod over when it cooled. So we're going to have to straighten that back out. The side of the cab looks good, both sides. That one has to come in a little bit more, but that looks good. Except for the headlight area here, where this structure has to come out. I'm going to take and finish off the features down below here, as well as on the other side. And we'll try and wrap up this front end today. This rod here represents the bottom edge of the fascia. Now this sticks way out. This isn't proper. I just left it kind of run wild, just temporarily, until we form up the rest of the features and we can get some heat on here, or just cold bend this and bring this into proper alignment. So we'll see how that goes. This rod here represents the edge of the standard style grille, and then we're going to have to install one more for the deluxe style edge. I mentioned before that we widened the deluxe style grille to look more like a standard up front with the addition of the deluxe here. So we'll get this rod in place, and then this flat bow will run into that rod, and then we can establish the bottom edge, which will tie into this. So we have the bottom rod, and then we have the side of the grille here. Now this is going to sit right in here, and I need to take and notch this piece of flat bar out to blend this rod into that, but that's going to sit just about there. We'll establish the widths in a minute, and then we have the lower piece that rolls around the edge of the fender and then ties into the center section. And then at that point, we can establish the widths of these areas here. So let's get this notched out, get this rod tacked in, and then we'll move down to the bottom and get the bottom rod in. So with this little corner notched out, we can take and flush up the rod with the top of the flat bar and mount this rod right here. Okay, so we'll grind that up, clean it up afterwards. I just want to make sure that we're sitting in the right spot. It's still hot, so I was able to kind of maneuver that rod around. So now I can take this bottom rod and fit this into place. Now this is the bottom of the fascia here, and we've got a few marks here to line up on. It has to be trimmed up on the end there. It's going to sit in like that because this rolls down and underneath. So we can't have the bottom kind of sticking out here. So this is going to roll down. I'm just debating whether to cut off the bigger rod and blend this in, or have the bigger rod extend back. I have a nice gentle curve on this smaller rod. So what I'll probably do is just blend it into the bigger rod. And then we can set the spacing for these two rods here. And that should be it. I'll take and trim off this one here where it has to be. I've just finished trimming the bottom rod. Now I'm going to take and chop this off here, right where the radius starts. But before I do that, I need to support this. Otherwise, if we cut this here, this front hoop will just drop down. So I'll get a brace, either tack it or clamp it to here, and then we'll take and nip that off. Okay, so I've trimmed this off, and that's going to blend in very nicely right there. All we're concerned about is the bottom surface, because that's going to be what we're rolling the sheet metal over. And this is braced here. We'll have to trim these up accordingly. I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but when I was cutting this piece of rod here with the zip blade, it actually kind of caught the zip blade. And if not expecting it or not anticipating that, it could rip the grinder right out of your hands, which could be kind of catastrophic for you. So you always have to make sure that everything is supported properly and your blade is never pinched. Now I was just looking at this rod here, just lining things up. And if you notice on a 40 Ford, the center section of the grille comes down just ever so slightly more than the fender line and this area here between the fender and the grille, so the main grille. So what I'm going to do, this was bent in only a single plane. What I'm going to do is clamp in the vise and just tweak this leg here where it extends into the center point. Just bring it down about 5 degrees to give it that nice little angle up front. So we're going to be sitting about there. We have to make sure we have enough clearance, road clearance, but at a slight angle will improve the look of this front main section here. Okay, so that flows in very well. After that fender line comes around and then dips down ever so slightly here at the front. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a straight edge across these two I-beams here, just to make sure we have consistent dimensions from side to side. And we can set the ground clearance here at the front. So in other words, the point at which it rolls around the bottom. And we'll get this welded into place. Okay, so that's looking good there. Sweeps around nice. Now, just looking at the curvature here, I'm gonna have to nip this and pull that in just a little bit because we are sticking out a bit. After I adjusted this, it kind of kicked that point out. But in the meantime, we can take and make a few marks here and establish where that's gonna be mounted, as well as that point there. Okay, so I'll get the grinder, chop off this front rod here, trim these two rods up, mount them to this horizontal bar, and then we'll finish up this corner here. Okay guys, I lied. I said I was going to do these first. I actually decided to take and roll this fender arch rod in just a little bit tighter here at the bottom. It looks better. I got looking from that perspective and it kind of stuck out a bit. So I rolled that in. We trimmed this rod up, pulled that in. This is looking a lot better. Now I can take these two rods, cut them, and mount them, take and straighten this one out, and tack it to here. Okay, just made a few adjustments to this curve here. It's all coming around nicely here, but this reverse curve through here actually should be sitting in this location. So up there it sat a little bit differently. So when I moved it down and kept it out here, we moved out. So the reverse curve in the flat bar is good. So we're going to take and put a little section through here, curve that around and blend it in instead of bending up a whole new piece. We'll just take and cut it, move it, tack it, and put a piece in here. Okay guys, well there you go. Front driver's side corner just about done. All the lines have been roughed in and I'm really happy as to how things came out over here. You can see how relatively simple it is to reconfigure the lines on a wireframe buck. If it was a wooden one, you'd have a few more headaches. Later on, if I'm not happy, if I see something that isn't quite right, we can just do a few little simple nips and tucks and move things around. I've got a sketch here and it's been basically serving as a guide for the proportions for the front fenders and the grille sections here in the front. So now I'm going to move on to the passenger side and get that side done. Well guys, we're just about done with the wireframe for this 1944-ish front end. And I have to say, things are really coming together well. All the lines, all the curves, they're really gelling together really well. Look at the proportions, it almost looks like it's on steroids. It's got the same profile, the same silhouette as a 40, but the width, in terms of width, it's got that beefy stance to it now. So I think the owner's going to be quite pleased with what he sees here. We have to finish off a few areas such as these here, get them fixed into place. We have to make up the headlight rings, get those mounted. So basically we'll remove this rod, put a ring in here, get rid of the structure. We'll make up some profile pieces, basically connecting the wheel arch to the top here and then to the hood cut line. So that'll all be completed. It'll also help hold all this from moving around. We'll have to do the same on both sides. So yeah, still a little bit of work yet, but overall everything's kind of come together here. That'll be it for this episode. Thanks a lot for watching. And if you have any comments or questions or like the progress you've seen so far, hit the like button. We'd appreciate that. And for those of you who are into custom cars, building things, and enjoying seeing things come together, hit the subscribe button, because a lot of stuff we do here at the studio, you can pick up a thing or two and perhaps apply it to your own projects at home. So if we can help you out anyway, let us know. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.